Hey, hey.
Hey, hey.
How we doing?
It's a beautiful, I'd say it's beautiful Friday afternoon. It's beautiful because it's Friday afternoon, but it's
Beautiful inside the
hot.
window. Yeah, it's not beautiful when you go outside.
Mm-mm. It's gross out there. I don't know
Yeah.
how whoever else is living in gross, but woof.
I am feeling it. I'm living in gross.
Yeah.
And Kirk's muted, which is probably
Yep.
the best thing yet, because I'm sure whatever
Yep.
he was going to say was
I
not.
was saying you're living in gross. We're lucky that any of the fires this year, knock on wood, haven't hit us as far as smoke goes.
It's just 100 by 100 outside here. So, 95 degrees, 95% humidity, somewhere in that area.
Gotcha.
So it's like a warm bowl of soup outside.
So Kirk, they were talking about on the Everything MSP call today, the how the stoppages with rolling blackouts are causing for some interesting technology issues for
Mm-hmm.
industries.
Okay.
It was an interesting.
Are you guys seeing rolling blackouts? Like, what do you do? What do you do with that?
No, I mean, part of our standards is checking on UPSs, and
Yeah.
thankfully, also having talks of moving their damn on-site stuff to the cloud, so that way,
They can go home and work.
offices. Yep, exactly. So, it's again talking to them about this is what could happen if you're fine with if everything goes out in your building that you're non-productive for a period of time, then great. But if not, let's do something about it.
It's crazy. I just can't imagine. Like, hey, we're pulling the plug on your business for a few hours.
Yeah, PG&E is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful utility.
Well, I think the word utility kind of negates wonderful, no matter what you have to say. But
Yeah.
They're just going to continue to get sued into the ground, and then I don't even know who's going to pay for all of the stuff that they have to change. But
right.
It'll
Well,
be the taxpayers.
I was gonna say, you know exactly who it is.
yeah, that's true.
It'll either be from printed money or money that they actually have to collect from you, one way or the other. But they can't afford to pay for it, or they would have you believe that anyway. And if you own their stock, you don't want them to have to pay for it out of their pocket. So,
It's a tangled web.
yeah, it is. It is.
Well, excited to have everybody here. Today may be short, but every time I say that is when we run over. So
Right.
I will tell you, I have a recorded portion that is 15 minutes long. So if we run beyond that, it is because we had questions and comments about that. So first, just a couple of housekeeping pieces. Are we still recording or have I not recorded yet? I feel like I have.
It's paused. I paused it. Well, it says you're recording. No? Resume. There we go. Now we're recording.
Okay, perfect.
I paused it so I didn't catch all the crap in the beginning.
Just a couple of quick pieces. Alex, you're looking at the Jamboard?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So as usual, we've got new to LCI Wednesdays at 1 Eastern. Although all of the names on this call, I think many of you have been to those a while ago, but I see a couple of new ones. So if you have not joined that before and would like to, feel free to send info@lifecycleinsights.com and email if you do not have the invite in your inbox, although you should. And then we are going to do another boot camp again on Wednesdays. So we'll have that official announcement in the platform and we'll go out in the Monday email, but that is 4 weeks, $600 per seat, to kind of work through building your process into Lifecycle Insights, Report Builder, and framing the conversation presentation on how to sell and deliver QBRs. Alex, do you want to say anything else about that if I didn't frame that the right way?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay.
It's really good for MSPs who are just trying to get it figured out, as well as if you've got new hires, right? It's a great way to get a new hire off the ground and not have to do all the heavy lifting yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Wednesday topics, Tim, are week 1 is data cleanup, data quality. Week 2 is budget and how to build a budget forecast, which is a bit of what we're talking about today. But really let's get started with it. Week 3 is assessments and week 4 is projects. And then it's a rolling. So this week coming up, I think is the 4th week, Alex, is that right? So it would be it would be projects this week. It starts at the first of the month.
This is week 3. Yeah. No, this is week 3.
Okay, perfect. Absolutely. Send your folks to them and they'll get some click-through pieces. And then it's usually about half an hour of content and then half an hour of Q&A. And folks really get their questions answered. So from there, you can find us maybe this week. And Raleigh, North Carolina, if anybody wants to join us at ASCII, if you're not signed up and you're near that area, we do have some free passes we could give you. Hope to see lots of folks in Austin the following week. Hope it's less humid there than it is right here right now. And
because Austin
I suspect in Chicago, it'll be better humidity-wise in October, and Orlando. So if you're looking for us, and always on the interweb. So with that, today we want to talk about contracts. Tim, I'll put a link in there once I get this recording clicked. So today there's going to be a release this weekend. So that is, and I hope that it helps when I put it in the Facebook group so that you all know the topic, because we definitely get more folks showing up when I post it out there a couple hours beforehand. If you're not in our Facebook group, I'll post that. This weekend, we're going to release some components around the contract module. Within the next 4 weeks, we are going to release the bigger piece of pulling agreements in from the PSA. So we've recorded Nick doing both of these things in our dev environment. So we want you to watch it. We'll take, as usual, feedback, comments, questions back to him. And we wanted you to see what was coming. So anything else to make a preemptive strike on this, Alex? Oh, you're muted, but I saw the no. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's definitely stuff folks have been asking for. So even though it's recorded, I think they'll get a kick out of it.
Yes. All right. I'm going to hit play and give me a thumbs up on audio.
Okay. My name is Nick. I wanted to show you some improvements that we've made with our contracts management module in the LCI platform. This should take about 5 minutes. So
takes 15.
Will you enjoy it? Let us know if you have any questions. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to contracts. And I'm going to start by adding a new contract to demonstrate some of the new features that we've added, right? So let's say I want to add a new contract around threat detection services. So a lot of these fields are the same, but there are some new fields here that I wanted to point out. And almost all of these came from our partner requests. So we very much appreciate everything we contributed in that regard. Okay, so the account field is the same, status is the same, location, you can choose any location. One of the new fields that we've added is to determine whether or not you own the contract or somebody else does. So let's say that this is your contract, so it's not third party. So that'll give us an easy way to filter contracts later, and I'll show that in a little bit. We've had the request to add a link URL where you could easily download the contract. And in this case, I have this contract in ConnectWise, so I'm just gonna put my link there. And at any point when I go into the contract details, I can now navigate and download the contract just by clicking on the link icon. Description is the same. Another new field we've added within the contracts page itself is the ability to link assets to the contract. So let's say this particular contract covered, threat detection services for a bunch of assets within your client. So you can go ahead and you can select the assets that are tied to the contract. And once you do that, you'll see this list here. You'll also be able to see this now on the asset list, and I'll show that in just a second. In terms of billing cycle, this field has always been here. Just so you know, we added one additional billing cycle at one time. But in this case, I'm just going to use monthly. Let's say the cost is $1,500. It's actual. I'm going to say this contract starts today, Friday the 13th. But to demonstrate something else, this is another request that we have received frequently is, hey, I really don't want to set an end date. and you are no longer required to set an end date. So that I think is a plus for most people out there. So those are the new fields. Again, to recap, whether or not it's third-party contract, you can add a link to the contract, whether it's from your PSA, IT documentation tool, SharePoint, Google Drive, what have you. You can link assets. And then finally, you do not have to specify an end date for a contract anymore. And when you don't specify an end date, the auto renew flag is really useless at that point in terms of budgeting. Because on the budget, if you don't specify an end date, we will just forecast the contract value out in perpetuity. Okay, so let me go ahead and save this contract. It does a little work when we save it. And let's close this real quick. And let's talk about this view, the contracts list page, for just a second. So a couple of things, we've added a filter at the top of the page. So if you just wanted to see your contracts, you can say third party no, it'll just show you your contracts. If you just wanted to see contracts that were not managed by you, but third party yes. Or if you wanted to see all contracts, you can select all. You'll see that in this case, I don't have any end date specified for this. You can also see the assets that are linked to the contract, and you could also link directly to the assets from the contracts page if you wanted to. Some additional things that I'm going to talk about in just a minute are some actions that have moved into this page. But before I do that, I wanted to jump over to the asset list. And I mentioned earlier that that if you want, we now have added the contracts as a column option within the asset list, right? So if you select that, let's say, you can see all the contracts associated with the asset in the asset list. Again, that was something that was requested because we've always been able to assign assets to a contract by selecting it, selecting an asset and link the contract within the asset list, but we never really exposed which contracts, the contracts column in the asset list for you to view, but now that's exposed. Okay, let me go back to contracts. Okay, so I talked a little bit ago, we used to have the delete button within the detail, but right now, if you wanted to delete things, I'm not going to, but you can delete it straight from the list page. A couple other things, if you ever wanted to copy a contract, you can just click the copy button and it just creates a copy for you automatically. Go ahead and delete that. And then finally, a new concept we added around contracts is the notion of a contract template. So in other words, if you created a contract and you wanted to reference this contract either in a different customer, the same customer, or even a project, recurring costs in a project, you can save it as a template, okay? So when you click the template icon, it'll say, okay, please name it. I'll just name it Threat Detection Services Template. I'll click Save. And once I have templates added, when I go into add a new contract, I'll basically be able to load from a template. Once I do that, it'll auto-populate all the settings that you have previously saved. Now, it might not make sense, you're using this template, you create the template from one customer, so the cost or the next due date or the terms may be different, including the link URL. You can go ahead and edit those as you please, right? You can get rid of this and say, oh, there's really no link yet for this. But that's we've heard that a lot, right? I don't want to keep re-entering contract information. I don't want to re-enter the description or specific things that are always static from customer to customer. So now you can save it as a template. Once you do that, when you're in the add new contract, you'll be able to see load from template and just select. Okay, so along those lines, if you are working within projects, right? Let's say you have a project, you say, okay, for this project, I already have a number of recurring costs, but I want to add another one. You can go to add recurring charges that are associated with the project. you'll be able to view the contract templates here, right? So you can say, okay, I want to load the threat detection services template. And again, it'll automatically pre-fill this. The one thing it doesn't do in the project is do the begin date, because we assume that will always be different when you're creating recurring costs in a project. So from the standpoint of what will be released starting August 16th, the 16th of August, everything I just showed you will go out the door, will be out the door by then. This will be available to you. Beyond that, we have a couple of additional items that we're still working on, but I wanted to give you a quick preview of what that is, just so you know it's coming. And specifically, it's around importing your contracts from your PSA. So some of you probably noticed, we've always had the add new contract subscription, and we've always just allowed you to manually enter contracts within Lifecycle Insights. But we're now about to embark on the ability to import contracts from your PSA. And we're going to stair-step this process. First, we're going to do it with ConnectWise Managed. That's kind of our proof of concept, and that's just about done. And then once we get that vetted, we're going to quickly turn around and go to our other PSAs, Autotask, Synchro, and Halo. If you're currently an IT Glue customer, that is not to worry. We are going to allow you to import your contracts from your PSA just by doing a simple company mapping from IT Glue customer to ConnectWise Manage or Autotask or Synchro or Halo. But let me just show you what this is going to look like, just so you have an idea of what's going on. So if you want to import a contract from Manage, okay, and just so you know, if I click on this button, just so you know, this demo site is pointed at IT Glue for its primary data. So there's a mapping where we're mapping the company from IT Glue, which is Hunter Lodge, to the company of Hunter Lodge and ConnectWise. I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute, but just know that for this particular company, that mapping has already been completed. Okay, so when I click on Important Agreements from ConnectWise Manage, it gives you a list of your agreements. It gives you the status, description. Again, this is sample data within our ConnectWise sandbox, so it's not great data. But there's a couple of things to realize. First is we just show you the agreements from ConnectWise, but you could also see the details, and you can actually import the details individually if you wanted to. So this particular agreement, Hunter Lodge Managed Services Agreement, has 3 additions underneath it. And if you wanted to, you could import the additions as contracts themselves within Lifecycle Insights, or you can import just the top level. It actually will let you import both of them if you want to, but I don't see why you would ever really want to do that, but I'm typically wrong about those things. Maybe there's a reason. But to import the contract, you just basically select it. And it'll give you a message that says, hey, I've successfully imported the agreement from ConnectWise Manage. It's got a check mark, says it's already been imported. If I close this, I can take a look at it. And you'll see that this particular contract was imported from ConnectWise. How do I know? It's got the double asterisk. It says, hey, we've been imported from the PSA. The notion is that once it's been imported, we are going to sync nightly with ConnectWise Manage. In this case, if it's Autotask, Autotask, Halo the same, Synchro the same. But we're going to also give you the ability, if you ever want to perform an on-demand sync, you can click this button, which will automatically resync the data from the PSA back into Lifecycle Insights. if you click on this, there's a couple of things that are different. So if I click on a contract that's been imported from a PSA, you'll see a couple of things. First is that it'll tell you up here the last time it's synced, okay? And then a couple other things. So these fields are all updatable, right? So you can change the name, a link, description, anything like that if it's third party. Some of that information we can't get from ConnectWise, but we're gonna allow you to change all that stuff. There are certain things you cannot change, right? This is pulled directly from Manage, right? So it'll pull the billing cycle, the cost type. We're always gonna assume it's actual, and then the dates around it. So that is information that we're gonna pull. So when it gets synced, it'll be updated automatically. You can't update them within Lifecycle Insights because of the sync process. So that's something to look forward to. If for whatever reason you said, hey, you know what, I need to update this information, you know, there's no reason that says you can't just copy this. If for whatever reason, again, we wouldn't recommend this, but if you wanted to update information and get it out of sync with ConnectWise, you know, you can just go ahead and click the copy. And once you do that, we'll create it, and you can then, we'll create the copy, and then you can update everything as you normally would. The use case there might be if you, for whatever reason, change PSAs, you can import your contracts from PSA 1 to PSA 2. That might be a use case that'll fall into. So we're expecting, again, to wrap up, everything up until the import from PSA will be released by August 16th, 2021. The integration with the PSA and the ability to import contracts will kind of be delivered in a stage approach over the next 4 weeks. And if you have any questions about that, you know, please feel free to let us know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed seeing what's coming. We enjoy the feedback from our partners, and this is a direct result of it. So hopefully we hit the mark. If you have any questions, please let us know. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, so there we have it. And we've got some good feedback in the chat, but we would really love to hear comments, questions, good stuff. I like that. Other pieces we missed, or
if that generates questions for no one, then we lost some people who weren't paying attention.
You got on the contracts, you can add multiple contracts to linked assets. So linked assets could have 5 or 6 different contracts and or subscriptions, correct?
I believe so. I don't
Okay.
think there's any limit on that.
Okay.
This is going to have a write back capability once they get the ConnectWise stuff. So if we convert a project or whatever to a contract, will that be able to write back to ConnectWise?
That's not immediately on the roadmap. And I think there's some complexities around that just with the amount of configuration that can go into a project. So I think we'll explore it, but I don't know that we're ready to commit to it at this time. Because as you guys know, ConnectWise contracts are a complex, convoluted beast, and I'm sure they're no easier in Autotask. So if you want to circle the wagons on that once we have all this out and talk through it, I'm happy to schedule some time to sit and talk through what it might look like. That's the best answer I can give you at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
and I'm going to show 2 screenshots because Nick mentioned that he wanted to show the company mapping what that looked like, and he said he forgot to do it in the video. So what will happen is when you go to import agreements, we are going to try to guess what the company mapping name would be. And if we don't guess right, you can see that home is kind of typed in that filter. We will then let you clear it and provide a list of all. So if the name's way off, you'll be able to grab the correct one. So.
And as far as IT Glue goes, today IT Glue doesn't have a way to really present us contracts in a fashion that we can pull them out. So if you are an IT Glue integrated partner, you may have noticed in there, there's a spot where he actually referenced an IT Glue partner pulling a contract out of ConnectWise. As we roll part of this out, we'll enable that secondary integration. But understand your source of truth does not change. If you were an IT Glue partner to start, you can still pull a contract from ConnectWise, but all your asset configurations, all your user configurations, all that will still come from IT Glue. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Good deal.
How about the reporting on that too? You know, if you have multiple contracts or items, I guess, could you do a report based on that and kind of overall what you have? Basically what I'm asking is there going to be some flexibility in doing some reports back on some of that?
We don't have any contract specific reporting in plan right now. So if there's something that you're interested in seeing, spell it out for us and let us know kind of what you'd like to see. And we'll explore whether or not we can get that on the roadmap this year. This year is rapidly catching up to us, but
right.
But yeah, if there's reports that you want to see, by all means, you know, show them to us or give us an idea what you're considering. The standard contract report that just shows you a list of contracts is not going to change as part of this release. And Tim, as far as email notifications for expiring contracts, that will not be email notifications. It'll make a ticket. But yeah, by the time we get done with this version 1 of this release, I don't think we'll make a ticket. But once we get the integrations right with the PSAs, then we'll be moving forward with features like creating a ticket when a contract is about to expire. And we'll give you some logic to be able to say, give me 30 days, give me 60 days, or whatever.
Yeah, it looks like a good first start.
Cool. And you guys have watched us do this enough. You know, the first start is just cracking the egg and making sure that we're making an omelet and not making a mess. And after that, we will firm it up and continue to add the functionality that seems popular.
Thanks, Kirk.
And Kirk will break it.
Release to Kirk on Sunday so he can run through and QA everything real quick for us.
I didn't for a second doubt that Kirk would be the first one to break it. Like that thought never crossed my mind. I just knew it would be a thing.
I mean, you can race him if you want.
He's better at breaking it than me, and I thought I was good. So, all right. So, Marnie, sorry. Go ahead.
When those contracts go or that you bring in from the PSAs and stuff like that, will that be a listing that we could put in the report builder and stuff at that point, just listing those out, or not? Just listing those individual contracts in.
It's already a thing in report builder.
Yep, they added that.
Yeah. Marnie, you want to swing over to report builder there and show it?
I'm cool. MFAing right now.
Okay. Oh, you still have the video up, don't you?
I do.
Okay. I was like, you've already got it on your screen. Why can't you just go there? Never mind. Well, the contracts tab get the same
so I don't have that kind of magic.
So Lori asks if contracts will get the same filtering that's available on other tabs. And Lori, can you just elaborate on that? If you're talking about like a field chooser that says which fields are going to show up in the report and all, we talked about that this morning, and that's something that's going to be added down the road. But if you're looking for like red, yellow, green, what we call the swatching feature, I'd like to know that, because that is not something that I think is currently on the roadmap, but it's an interesting conversation. Okay, yeah, the little blue gear with a selection of columns is something that we're debating, or that we had a healthy conversation on this morning, and I think we'll make it into a release at some point.
So we just talked about that.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So we'll look for that in an upcoming but not too far away release.
Okay, so we want to do a couple of things. Alex, what was the first place you wanted me to go to? Contracts.
Report builder and
and then assessment. We wanted to make sure we showed that piece.
Yep. But for now, report builder and the section in report builder on contracts.
Yep. Okay. Report builder. Sorry, I'm responding to like 8 chats at the same time. Do you want me to grab your template or just show that?
That's fine. It doesn't matter. But yeah, you can add this to any template. So you see contract list template has been added in there. Yeah. You can pull it from any library. Yours by default, if you haven't used it somewhere else, will only have it in there once.
Yep. Yeah. Any other questions on that, or you want me to jump over and do the assessment piece?
Let's go. Unless anybody has more questions on what was in the video, we've got another little nugget to show you guys. I was flipping through the platform the other day and I went, oh my God, when did we add that feature? And so then it kind of made sense to share it with everybody and see who else was with me and not paying attention.
Okay. So that is in assessments. You have a good one to pull up?
No, off the top of my head,
you know what? I bet any of the ones that we can figure out that they're not complete, this one should have it.
Yeah. So we added a drop down in the top here that says show only unanswered items. And this is useful if you've got more than one person. I guess it's useful if you're the only person doing it and you're coming back and forth to try and answer questions. But the beauty of it is if your engineer answers all the questions first and the account manager follows them, or the other way around, if your account manager answers everything they can and then requests an engineer to come in and fill in the last couple questions, this will shorten the list so that you're not hunting through everything in the assessment to get those filled in. So this will show you all the unanswered ones by themselves. Pretty simple, but something that I think was logically missing from the door.
Tony, glad you appreciate that. I thought you guys would like that, knowing your process. Yeah, God, good. Glad that works.
Yeah.
And the reverse, show only answered items, right? So if you are presenting, because some folks have said this, what happens when I don't want clients to, I want to present in front of them, and I don't want them to see that we didn't answer items because they were irrelevant to them. You can now do that on the screen as well.
Yeah.
Are you ever going to have within those areas where to find the information, kind of like a documentation of, where, for that person that's doing the assessments to say, hey, this is where we grab that information from?
So that exists today. The problem is we don't fill it out for you because, if we go tell you how to enable IPS IDS in a firewall or whatever, that's not something that depending on what brand you use or how your MSP operates, we're just not comfortable putting that level of detail in. But Marnie, go to an assessment item. I think that's where we need to show it, like in the items list.
Okay.
Yeah, actually it showed up on that one right there, but
yeah, I knew we had one in there. You want me to grab that?
Yeah, grab that. So in the assessment item itself, you can add explanation remediation tips. You actually do the work over on the items list. You can't do it from here if there's not one added, which I think is maybe something we should consider. But if you go into that, let's look at it from the other direction. It is a full rich text editor, so you could build out anything you wanted in here. I think the right answer for most MSPs is a link to SharePoint or a link to IT Glue, where you've got the rest of your documentation, because it keeps all your practices in one place. But that show scoring instructions, I think, is way underutilized, just because it requires a lot of work from the MSP to get it right. But if you want to know, hey, is your Meraki firewall still licensed or whatever, you can give them the exact place to go look at that.
Okay.
Quick question. When we're doing the reports, is it possible to show the reports only with answered items and also eliminate any of the non-applicable items?
So you mean within report builder or printout?
Yeah.
No, we don't have a way to not show not applicable yet.
That's
what I thought.
Yeah, we've talked through it, and like a checkbox that just hides them.
Yeah.
so we can include or not include the item detail at the back end. But,
Right. Okay.
But all that does is impact what goes on the back end.
Okay. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but you know.
Do we have that in somewhere as a feature request, Marnie? Because it's not the first time I've heard it.
Yes, Kirk has asked for that before, so I know he's tagged on a ticket.
Okay.
But
Am I not tagged on a ticket? Okay.
We just
stop
go
breaking
through
stuff.
and put Kirk, Kirk. But I will double check. Yeah, we've had a couple of those. Yeah, and the ability to do more functionality around that for sure. We have heard before. Yeah, Matt. Yeah, I'm just reading that private message.
And to Tim, to make a ticket, just go down and click help at the bottom right, or send an email to support@lifecycleinsights.io.
Yeah, so here's the help. And if you contact us, this will put in a ticket for you.
And Tim mentions add more fields. Is everybody here? Is anybody here for that answer? Using our custom fields. At first, we started and gave you the ability to create 2 custom fields. Now it's up to 5 custom fields, and these do map back to your PSA. So if you're if you're not using them today, the way that this works, you can build a text or a pick list, or you can open a ticket with support, and they can map some of these back to certain places in your PSA to pull additional info that we don't have normally out of your PSA. So there is a function for some additional tickets if you need it. Oh, yeah. Assessment fields, not yet.
For those of you that were interested in custom fields, I went down to Data Manager and manage custom fields. And again, I know we talk about this a couple times, but we hear that like you'll be bored of the message before everybody actually hears it. So I'll say again that the manage columns, don't forget, and Nick showed this, where now you can add contracts. Well, you'll be able to on Monday once this is released. Don't forget, if you want to change your view and you want to include those custom fields. So this is where the custom fields pop up. So you could create a view that include custom fields, and inside an asset, they would populate up here. So these are the 3 custom fields. So they would be right under make model. All of your custom fields would show up in here before comments.
Yeah, I mean, custom fields get used for a lot of different things. We do have some folks pulling over some extra information out of their PSA. I forget what the asset items were that some folks were pulling though.
So CPU and RAM were the first things that we were requested on, and then financing was the next.
What was?
Finance. If it was.
Oh, right. Whether or not whether something is leased or not. And that one was just a drop down in our tool. The other one that I know somebody's working on, and I don't know if they have it figured out yet, is the Windows Performance Index. And one of our partners is working on pulling the Windows Performance Index into their PSA using their RMM tool, and then grabbing it from us, or grabbing it from there and shoving it out to us. So there's a lot of things you can do with it. I think creativity and technical prowess are your only limits on some of that.
So that was show and tell for today. Anybody have any other questions that maybe are not specific to what we were showing here? Tim, I thought it was funny with guns have to think on this. All right, so then before we send you out, any other topics that you would like to see on a weekly workshop, things you want to discuss? Alex and I are definitely always, curious what folks want to hear about. I think I'm going to put the link to the video that we played at the beginning that have all of the features that are coming out this weekend in the chat, so that if any of you joined in late, I know a couple of you we let in after I played the video, you can take a look at it now, or if you want to share with a team member that might be using it on Monday, and we'll be finding new features and Easter eggs in the place.
I think one future topic that we're going to do is we're going to have somebody come talk to us about employee training programs and how to make those actionable and useful, as opposed to just our typical, build the human firewall conversation that seems to be in all the marketing slicks. I had a really good conversation with a vendor about that the other day, and I think we're going to have them come by and hang out and talk about human training and how to make it actually usable.
Hey, two things that possible topics. One is we are building cyber incident response policies off of NIST, and that can be a very varying. I mean, we've spent weeks on this so far, but it might be nice to have somebody who can angle this for not an enterprise organization, but for MSPs trying to template this for the clients that we have.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one, Kirk. We're actually having that exact conversation around CIS.
Okay.
So there's a group of MSPs. Tim, how many folks are in that group of MSPs you've got working on this? Close to a dozen?
So I think we have commitment from at least 10 that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So Tim's running a working group, and I think for the folks who mentioned that they would be interested in doing an accountability group with us a few weeks back, I haven't forgot you guys. I've just been stupid busy, and we've got a bunch of conferences coming up. So I'll be reaching out to everybody who said they wanted to be involved in a group like that. And we'll probably be doing something to merge that group in with Tim's. But I think there will be some value in that. And so we're going through CIS with that exact mentality. In fact, by Monday, there should be a new template in our system for CIS V8, the CIS 18 controls instead of the old CIS 20. So anybody who's using CIS, be on the lookout for a new template coming. But Tim has some unique knowledge on how to deploy that. And we're actually having an MSPs kind of getting your house in order conversation around doing your CIS first, and then how to take it to your customers and convert some of that. If you guys aren't familiar with Tim's group, it's the Compliancy guys over on Facebook. And they've got a whole thing around, a whole group around compliance and CMMC and CIS and NIST and what all this means, and how to English to English translate some of it, or how to nerd to English translate some of it, because I'm pretty sure a lot of it's not even in English to start with.
Yeah, we're digging through it, and it's a little bit kludgy, to say the least.
Yeah, square peg, round hole, big hammer. That's actually what Tim said when he was requesting additional fields in the assessment templates, because there's just not enough info in some of them. The downside is with additional fields comes tweaking all the reporting, which is a monumental undertaking, and it's the reason we haven't done it already, because we'd like to finish deploying the features you guys have already asked for before we get on to the next ones that are being asked for.
And every time it gets mentioned to me, I get facial tics.
Did you see mine? I don't know. I didn't realize it was that obvious.
Tony works as my employee, so yeah, they all have facial tics working with me.
Perfect.
I have so much empathy.
One other question I had is maybe have a quarterly, I don't know, camp or fireside chat or group meeting of maybe going over what assessments we're using for clients. So that way we can see if maybe, for us, we're adding in questions based on their insurances. We're adding, do you have a succession plan for your business? So, we're kind of going off onto a business track as well, but I'd also like to maybe be able to see what other people are using for assessments or assessment questions, so to speak. And that might be a good, that might be good for us. And, we're having to build a SOX assessment for a client that we're potentially onboarding. So, it might be good to trade what we're using.
I'd love to do that, and we could convert 1/4 of these sessions into that if everybody thinks it would be valuable. I don't want to take this conversation away into something that everybody doesn't see value in, but I see value there.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Alex, if we gave folks a 2-week runway of like, this is when we're going to do it, so that folks that had new pieces to share could get the right people on the call. But I think, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we could literally slate that for our first or second meeting in Q1, which would put us like the 3rd or the 10th.
Do you mean Q4?
I'm sorry, in Q4. Yeah.
I was like, that's a long time away. Okay.
I'm on that Australian quarters or whatever, you know.
Alex,
It's got to be a country that starts with that. We'll just pick a random one.
It's a fake continent anyway, so you know.
It's really just an island.
Yes. So, all right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Marnie, we probably should put out like just an email for that, but also in that kind of a call for, hey, do you have something cool you'd like to share, so we can get an itinerary.
Yeah, so we get a list of who it is. I will mention it on the Monday email, but I think that'll actually warrant another communication from me. So.
I would have to guess if we do that one, it will go long as well. So we probably should tell everybody to clear an hour and a half or so for it, or 2 hours or whatever, just in case, because somebody will bring up something cool. We'll go down a rabbit hole and we'll miss half the topics, or we won't get it all done.
I mean, it's hard to imagine going down a rabbit hole, but I suspect that might happen. I know. More email from me. Sorry, Tim.
It'll be in the regular weekly email.
Yes, it will be that for sure.
We do our best to keep it to a minimum.
I was remembering that you guys said something about being able to assign some of the assessment questions to the client. Is that still on the roadmap, or?
That is on the roadmap, but it didn't make the short-term Q3 one because that's a lot of permissioning. There's a lot of levels in there. So we want to do some more pieces around permissioning, but it didn't get prioritized to be put in development right now.
Okay. Is that going to be a Q4 then?
So we only, I don't know on that. How's that? we have a biggie coming for Q4, so there's some things dependent on that one.
Yeah, because we're getting more into, signing some of that stuff to the client to get back and document and stuff too. So
that reminds me of a related question. So I will follow up with you on that. All right, sorry, I had to write a note.
Nope, all good. So Tim mentions that a second set of permissions, and we've got a couple of use cases that we've been talking around for extra sets of permissions and extra visibility. So that's definitely something that we'll consider. I think it was one that was kind of high on the short list for next quarter, maybe, but certainly something that we thought had some value, but that didn't just couldn't make the cut for the workload for this quarter. So if Kirk would stop putting in support tickets, it would have fit.
Oh, I'm all about the RACI model, Tim. Who's responsible, accountable, needs to be communicated with and informed.
I thought Tim was just being racy.
I figured I'd spell it out.
With Tim, you never know. So, all right. Well, that kind of wraps up our Friday. You guys are going to get 10 minutes back unless anybody's got anything else that is noteworthy.
Yeah. Have good weekends.
Thanks, you guys too.
Stay cool. Thank you.
Take care.